You're listening to It Takes a Village podcast with Liberty,
Megan,
and Brianna, where you don't have to be perfect, you just have to be you.
Oh my God. I know. It was so, I don't know. It's just like such great news when you hear your friends are pregnant, especially when they want to be.
Yes,
right?
when they want to be.
When they want to be pregnant, it's such great news.
Yeah. And I wanted to share it. Like, I could never hold on to it for 3 months. For those of you that do that, awesome. Yay. Good for you. But, like, I was like, everyone, I need something. I don't know what it is. But I need to share this or I'm going to die. So, I told all my friends.
I kept mine really, really, really close.
But you also had a miscarriage.
Because I had a miscarriage. So when I was pregnant the first time, I told everyone right away. Mm-hmm. Like, everyone I loved, everyone that was family, I told them right away.
Yeah.
And then when I lost the baby, something interesting happened where, because I had told so many people that I was pregnant, I had to share with all of those people that I had lost the baby.
Yeah.
So I told them all in one foul swoop in a message. And that didn't go over great. So I do want to touch on the miscarriage piece just a little bit.
Yeah.
It will happen to just about 1 in 5 women. And when they're in their early stages of pregnancy before 20 weeks. So I was 6 or 8 weeks. I can't quite remember. And I went into my doctor's appointment and where they had previously heard a heartbeat, they did not hear a heartbeat anymore. And my HCG levels stopped growing. And that was really the biggest concern right away, is that they caught that first, that they weren't doubling or tripling. I forget what they're supposed to be doing in the first few weeks, but they just weren't growing the way that they were supposed to. And then we had the ultrasound. I remember the moment it happened, because the moment you find out you're pregnant, it feels so permanent and so irreversible. And then for it to be reversed so quickly, was honestly just a mind fuck. And also in the same respect, not that we didn't want that first one, but we were shocked and scared at that first pregnancy. And so there was also relief, and that was a weird, interesting emotion to deal with as well. So there was, a lot of pain. There was also relief, like we had a moment to catch our breaths and decide what we actually did want. It was all of it. And so I had 2 different options from my doctor when we found out there was no heartbeat. They said that I could have a DNC, or I was still within the range to use the pill. And I forget the actual clinical name of the pill, but
Crystal?
I forget. But when I got to the pharmacy to pick it up, that was the method I chose. I didn't know anything about the pill. I went to the pharmacist to pick it up, and it was labeled the abortion pill somewhere in the paperwork. The abortion pill, and not a doctor hadn't said that phrase to me.
Oh gosh,
I hadn't heard that until I went to pick up the medicine. And growing up in the religion that I did, that was a triggering word to hear. And I was like, we're doing what now? But I knew it wasn't a viable pregnancy. I knew I would get sick by keeping it and trying to deliver it naturally. So I had to proceed ahead, but it was a weird hang up where I'm very far removed from the religion now, but it was the word, it was the trigger that really gave me pause. But I had no other option. If I did not get this pregnancy out of my body, I was going to get terminally ill within a couple of days. So I had to get it out, and this way seemed the best. I didn't realize that when you take this pill, it puts you into basically a premature labor. Obviously you're birthing something much smaller than a fully formed fetus. And so it's similar, but not the same. But I did not expect to go through contractions and a birthing thing to rid my body of this failed pregnancy. It was so much pain, and I had to take the drug 2 days in a row. So the first day I didn't know what I was doing, just took it. And they gave me really heavy painkillers for it. I didn't realize why. And then I started bleeding and cramping, and it's a lot of blood, and it's a lot of clots.
Yeah, it is.
And I didn't realize the amount of sheer pain that would come with it, and just nausea. So come the second day, there's like a window of a certain amount of hours that you're supposed to take the second pill. I knew what was coming, and that was the hardest. To make myself take that second dose.
Yeah.
So I didn't die. So it was completely evacuated from my body.
Yeah.
So you have this understanding in you, like, this is dire and I have to take the second dose, but also like this terror from what happened the day before. So I just had to power ahead and take it anyways and deal with that second day. And Sam was with me every second of those 2 days. I didn't leave the bathroom and I didn't go to work. Don't go to work.
No.
I gave myself, I think even 3 days after, to not go to work, just to deal with kind of the shock and pain of it all and heal. And then, I was met with so many mixed emotions, grief at what I thought was going to happen, and then relief at it not happening when I wasn't ready. And then after some time had passed and I had seen many doctors and found out I was healthy and good to go again, Sam and I had a really serious talk. Like, the first one was an oops. But is this something that we actually really wanted?
Yeah.
And the devastation that both of us felt made us realize, like, we're 28. We've been married for, I don't know, 6 years, 7 years. We're at the point where actually, this does make sense as something we want. We had been living so in our 20s, like we didn't even think of it until it happened.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we were like, oh, is this something that we want? Are we at the point in our lives where we should stop and think about this? And we discovered it was something that we wanted. We got the go ahead from the doctors and started trying again. And it did make that first trimester incredibly terrifying for me when I found out I was pregnant with Evan. And I told not a soul.
That's fair. I mean, and it's the scary part is that it can happen. I know most of the time it happens with your first one.
It does.
But it can happen at any point.
Yeah.
Happened to a good friend of mine, and that was her second.
And it makes it terrifying.
And I think I would have to check with her, but she decided to pass it naturally.
Right.
And it was not
those options as well.
Easy. It was not easy. And I know it left her and her husband like very, very scarred from it.
Yeah.
To a point where now they're like, if it happens again, great, but we're really not all that enthusiastic about it anymore, even though they have a perfectly healthy 4-year-old.
It's a lot of pain to go through, though.
Yeah.
And then you realize that you have to reckon with that in your next attempts. Like, are you willing to face that pain might happen?
Yeah.
So it's a tough experience, and it can send you in either direction.
And nobody really talks about this side of it, right?
Yeah.
For women, in terms of like, everyone's like, have babies, it's great, it's so wonderful, but there's all this stuff that happens that's just, nobody knows what it feels like until it's you. And I think it's just so unfair for people to be like, well, you just got knocked up and you just wanted to get rid of this baby and it's just the way you no, it is never ever just a light decision.
Yeah, it's not that simple.
Scenario, it is personal.
Yeah.
It's extremely personal for everyone.
It's your body.
It's your body.
And your future.
It is your body. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, like we were saying, the moment that you find out, there's like a
it's
different,
so,
I can't even remember exactly what the sensation was, but
it's an entire shift.
You are not alone.
It's like a little
like you're with something.
Yeah.
You have to take care of it. And this is where I kind of go back to like the difference in experience for men versus women. And like, I know that our husbands are bonded with our kids now, but like, there is you start bonding with this thing when it's a tiny, tiny, tiny seed inside of you. The moment that you know it's there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you have a relationship and you started forming a relationship with that thing then.
Yeah.
And so you have that 9-month period and like they might be involved in touching your belly and excited, but they don't have it inside of them.
Yeah.
And, like they know it's just a totally different bond and like different experience. And I'm not saying that like men can never bond with their children. That's not at all what I'm saying. It's just like
it's transformative,
it's
like
different.
Quite literally from the inside out.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
And it feels pretty instantaneous.
It does.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, I'm housing a whole other life right now. And it's so weird when you first find out because you still look the same.
I know. I know.
So you walk around the world, still looking the same, but like holding a whole ass life.
Yeah.
And it's just a bunch of little cells.
It's so wild.
They're still forming. It's not even formed organs yet.
Yeah.
Then they have a kidney, which is crazy. Like,
but then
but it
starts
fast.
taking from you. I want to work our way into what that starts to feel like that first trimester.
It plants itself.
So there are just so many difficult trials that you experience in that first trimester that you really, really have no idea about. It's not stuff you covered in health. No. It's not stuff my mom talked to me about. It's shocking, and you need help through it. You need a village, you need good doctors, you need resources, because what's about to happen to you is transformative in ways that you have not been made aware.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say, first things first, you pee on that sick. Even if it's a Saturday, which was, I think mine, I was like, it's Sunday, and I was like, we were out in the driveway, and he's thinking, okay, so what's next? I was like, well, I gotta call the doctor. He's like, well, have you? I was like, it's a Sunday.
Well, yeah.
Not calling the emergency room for a pregnancy test.
Yeah, I think mine was taken too.
Yeah,
Small
it's weird.
town living,
it's weird.
man. It wouldn't have mattered
So
in LA.
I know, right? So I just kind of was like, well, I'll call them first thing on Monday, and then it just feels like a to-do list, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did was call.
Yeah.
And I personally called Dr. Laura Villanueva. She was at the Gunnison Valley Health Family Medicine, which formerly Gunnison Valley Family Physicians. Right? Yeah. If you are lucky, I was very lucky. Yeah. I just love that whole space. And there's a new office too in Gunnison Valley Health.
And she's a great doctor.
Yeah, Dr. Laura, Dr. Tucker was great as well. Yeah. She's they both work. They're a great team. And then who do you go to at the Gunnison Valley Health? Do you have a
there's a new women's clinic that was just opened up in Gunnison Valley. So there has been a big giant hole as far as women's health in the valley. And our doctors are retiring and few and far between. And so they just opened up a women's clinic at Gunnison Valley Health. Yeah. Abra told me about it because I've had so much trouble treating my endometriosis locally. So our friend Abra told me about this new clinic, and I was like, sure, I'll give it a try. If I don't have to travel 4 hours to Denver, I'll give it a try. And I went, and they've been amazing. Yeah. They've been so understanding. It's all women at this clinic. They really thoroughly understand the problem of endometriosis, and it's been transformative. So they are worth it. Yeah, that's great. So I called GVHFM, Gunnison Valley Health Family Medicine. Oh my goodness. And I talked to Lindsay, who's usually at the front desk, and she's just the best. And
she's the nicest lady. That's like at the very front all the time.
Nicest. They're all amazing. But Lindsay I just remember talking to her and just being like, she's like, what can I help you with today? I don't know. I peed on a stick. Like, I think I'm pregnant. Like, it was a moment of like, I think I'm pregnant. I took a positive pregnancy test. She's like, no, okay, hon, you're pregnant. And she made an appointment for me. We made an appointment. It was at 9 weeks, pretty sure, when they were saying that they could confirm that that's just the most likely time that they can actually catch something on an ultrasound. And so anything before that, they were just kind of like,
you can, but
it's not, so it's agony just waiting. Yeah. But it was one thing I did do that I want to make sure we let our listeners know about. After I made that appointment, granted at the time I was at the Gunnison Art Center, I did not have health insurance other than insurance that we were paying through
the marketplace.
The marketplace. But I called Health First Colorado because I just wanted to see what are my options now, because you technically count as a household of 3. Even though you haven't birthed it yet. And I did not qualify for Medicaid, but I qualified for CHP, which is Colorado Health Plan Plus. Yeah. And it is amazing. And it was a lifesaver. And I am so glad I called because A, they were so nice to me, super understanding, and they just want to help you. And then B, they were able, instead of just filling out the forms online, which is so frustrating, they just walked me through it over the phone. And then for things that I was like, I honestly don't really know, they're like, it doesn't really matter. Fill it in this way. And they helped me, and they got me coverage. And it covered me for all of my pregnancy care and then Avery's first year of life. That was huge. So definitely call.
And it's one of those
even if you
things,
don't think you qualify,
yeah, you're like,
call.
It's not for me. You don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know, and it's totally worth doing. It's totally worth doing.
And
I didn't think I
shame
qualified.
in accepting the extra help.
Yeah.
Especially
and
monetarily.
Yeah,
Shit should not cost
very well
Yeah.
may qualify.
And I had a very expensive one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
With weird like ambulance rides and hospital stays, and it covered it all. I paid $0. So it's totally worth calling, see what your options are.
Yes.
Best decision I ever made. And it took me less than an hour, and it was life-changing. So do it. Call. Don't hesitate. Yeah.
Accept the help.
Accept the help.
Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah. Yeah. And they also told me, it's like, okay, great. Here's what you can expect next. They also gave me next steps, which was great because that's what they're trained for. You know, they just assume you're calling because you don't know what to do now, which is entirely accurate. So, yeah.
Yay.
Yay.
Great advice. It's not often that you hear like a positive support story from a woman going through this process.
Yeah, it's so
like,
true.
Take that one and look into it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So 9-week appointment,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Do the ultrasound. It was exciting. It's weird. It's there. It looks like a gummy bear.
I know. And
It's
you're
kinda
just
cool.
like, oh, can we talk about the moment of fear that I had before they did the ultrasound where it was like,
yeah.
What if it's not there?
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
what if it's,
What if they can't find the heartbeat?
Yeah.
and like for a second, it takes them a second
It does.
because it's so small.
And it's scary. I mean, you hold your whole body, not just breath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you
like,
hear their
okay,
little,
and
it's
it's
so fast too. You hear the little heartbeat and you're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's really cool. Yeah. I remember recording it at all my appointments. I would record our heartbeat.
Oh, what a cool idea.
160 beats per minute.
Did you guys, when you first went in, did you get vaginal ultrasounds or were they always belly?
I had a regular one. They told me, to be fair, Dr. V was very honest, but she said, we're going to start with the belly one to see if we see anything. If we don't, we will do a vaginal ultrasound.
See, I think they started me with vaginal because of the miscarriage. We started early. We looked often.
Okay.
And so I started with the vaginal ones, which I was never aware of. I mean, on TV, all you ever see is the
I know.
Yeah.
belly ones, and they come out with this wand, and I was like, whoa.
Where you going with that? Yeah. Yeah.
But it is actually kind of extraordinary
I know.
that they can do those kinds of ultrasounds and the external belly ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, I ended up with both.
Yeah.
The first one is terrifying until it's not.
I know.
And it's like, oh my gosh.
And then they don't do one typically
and they don't do
until
it
like
forever. And you're like,
20
I think
weeks.
it's Still,
20
I
weeks.
think
And then you reset to terrified.
I know. 20 weeks, you're just
Yeah.
like, I think it's okay.
You go into that next one and you're like, dear God, dear Lord.
Yeah. Okay.
Honestly, trust your bodies. It's so weird, but also know your body, where if any hint of anything wrong, just call your doctor. Just call. Just totally call.
Any question.
Any question.
Quite
I
literally
did.
what they exist
I did.
for.
Yeah.
I know. Sometimes
Just
I forget. that
straight
they are
up.
there to serve
Yeah.
us.
So I want to talk a little now about like the physical changes that happen to you when you first find out that you're pregnant.
Yeah.
When I first found out, I remember being exceptionally tired, more tired than I've ever been in my whole entire life, all day, every day. That was the first one to hit me, was the fatigue. And the hormonal changes was one of my first tip-offs after the coming out of child's pose, almost vomiting issue. I was watching this video or this listicle from BuzzFeed that was like 13 things to make your day better or positive things or whatever. The second video was this vet who had saved a bunch of children in war and then was on a talk show where he was an honored guest. Every single person in the audience was one of the children from war that he saved. So they had them all they were like, if you were saved by this man, stand up, and the whole audience stood up, and he was like 80 or 90, and I bawled, you guys. I bawled. Like, could not get, I'm going to cry now. I couldn't get my composure, and I cried for so long, and I was on number 2 of the listicle, and I was like, am I okay?
So mine, this was before I even took my pregnancy test, but I was watching the Lorax.
So why not?
Okay, well, Tyler was working at Pisons, And I watched the Lorax, and I just started crying when all the trees were gone.
Yeah.
And he was gone, and he's not coming back, and the guy's realizing all the trees are gone, and then he comes back, and the trees start growing again. Anyway, it was so funny because I'm on the couch crying and thinking, okay, something's wrong.
Yeah, like you're crying so much harder than normal.
Wrong.
And for so much longer than normal.
It made so much sense afterwards. But anyway, that was mine.
Oh,
and
man.
then the exhaustion was so real because I
exhaustion was
remember
immediate.
laying on the little red sofa I used to have in the sunroom and just sitting there literally for a whole day. And Tyler's like, I'm pretty sure you're supposed to like move around and like be a little healthy and like try. I mean, I'm kind of worried about you. And I was just like, I don't have anything left. Like, I just was like, why are you judging me?
They're like doubling every day in the beginning.
Because I just was so tired. And
the growth is so much in the very beginning.
Yeah.
That like, quite your partner is like, what are you even doing? And you're like growing a whole ass human, doubling it every day. Yeah. Thank you.
So tired. It's
crazy.
And I don't blame him at all. Like, until you can't experience it. But I just was like, I didn't have energy for anything.
Yeah.
Like, any simple task.
Yeah, it was minimal effort across the board.
Just surviving.
I work from home. We're wearing PJs every day. We're sometimes not on camera.
Yeah.
We're making it through, but like there were days that I just took off where I was like, I don't feel like I can do this today. And I was
quite literally my whole job today is to build fingernails, so leave me alone.
And I remember one day in particular, I was pretty nauseated and like I actually didn't have a lot of nausea. I basically just sat in bed and watched movies. I don't know, Hayao Miyazaki movies are like my comfort movies. And so I watched Ponyo, which is really cute video about, basically it's like The Little Mermaid, but fun and different. And anyway, there's a scene where the mom, who's played by Tina Fey in that version, which is kind of fun, brings like the kids out this really delicious ramen, and it's just like so delicious looking. You know how like anime makes like ramen look so good, and it's got like the egg and everything. And I was just like, I just had like a really emotional moment where like, I can't wait to watch this with my kid and like make her ramen. Like, crying, but like loving the moment.
Yeah.
And this is what I mean with like what we were saying earlier with a different experience where you're like thinking about this so in depth and like what your experience is going to be like. You're imagining things like this is not what your husband is doing.
No.
You're like having these internal processes and reactions the whole time, and it's the hormones
because it's not happening inside their body,
pushing it further.
I know, it's so crazy.
And I was just eating a lot of pancakes like we talked about.
Same pancakes.
Lost weight in my first trimester. Like I couldn't. It was terrible.
Yeah, how'd you guys handle like the nausea and what you could or couldn't eat?
I couldn't eat anything for a while.
You ate peanut butter and jelly.
Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
I could eat pancakes. I could keep down pancakes solidly.
Stew would make me throw up.
I know, you came over to my house and I made you stew and you were like, I don't want to be impolite. I was like, I don't want you to vomit.
I know. It was so bad. Like all of these like really intense smells. There was
Meat
nothing
didn't go
I could
great for
eat. I would feel sick every goddamn day. It was so hard. And I just remember having these days where I had migraines like crazy, and I would just like have to go in a dark room with a t-shirt on my head, the blackest fabric I could find, close the curtains, and an ice pack on my forehead.
That's super common.
And just shut down and try to shut down. Just try to like not exist for a while.
Yeah. And
then one day, oh my God, I have some good stories. I forgot about these. One day, oh God, the cat too, yeah. No, this is a different one. So Tyler came home from work, and I guess I didn't go to the GAC that day. I don't know. I don't even remember taking time off work. I guess I just didn't go sometimes. I don't know.
I feel like you were there all of the
time.
And
then, but he came home, he's like, why are you still, as in my underwear? Like I woke up. Mm-hmm. And I was eating a bowl of ice cream.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is what I've been doing all day. Eating ice cream and this, because that's all I got. And he was just like, it is what it is.
And if ice cream stays down, you eat ice cream. Oh, my God,
yes. And then the cat one time jumped up on me, and I was so just irritated. And I threw him, and he hit the wall. And he just went, meow. And I woke up and I'm on the side of the bed crying until I was like, what is happening? I was like, I think I killed a cat and I'm emotional. And then he's just like, I don't have time for all of this. All of this is so much right now. And then the bear story. So the bear, oh my God. So Tyler was working at Paisan, so it was late at night, and the bear was out in the front yard, and our house had flooded, so we were fixing the floor, so I was in the guest room.
The bear is their frequently visiting bear.
So he's like right outside our window, and I just was so pissed off because I was trying to sleep, and I was naked because I was sleeping naked because it was hot. So I went in the kitchen and grabbed pots and pans, and I'm just out in the driveway banging pots and pans naked because I just was like done, just like banging the pots and pans, tits flying, like, and I didn't care, nor did I remember, because I was just like in a place.
Yeah, and like a hormonal.
My first trimester sucked.
Same. I have a good cat one. So Sam, we lived in Los Angeles, right on the border of Thai Town and Little Armenia. So the food options were amazing. We had gotten Thai food from our favorite place, and I had gotten chicken satay and something else, and Sam got pad thai. I don't like pad thai.
Chicken satay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next day, he was at work. I went to eat my leftovers, and my chicken satay was gone, and all that was in the fridge was pad thai.
Yeah.
And I called him immediately. It was urgent. Like, I don't care what he was doing. I needed to know what happened. Called him immediately. I'm sitting in the apartment alone with my cat on the ground in the hallway, I think. I was distraught and was like, where is the satay? And he was like, oh, I ate it last night and left you the pad thai. And I said, okay. And to him, it probably came across like, okay. And then we hung up and it was fine to him.
And you were like,
It was
home losing your mind.
it was a Mean Girls, you hang up and you eat.
Yes. It was the angriest okay I have ever uttered out my mouth.
Did you pull out the burn book?
Ever. Oh my God. So I hang up from him on like probably what he thinks is a fine note. I was so mad. I chucked my phone down the hallway and hit my cat. I did not intentionally hit my cat, but it did land squarely on the cat.
Oh my God.
Then I was doubly distraught. I had no chicken satay. I only
That's why
had
Lucy doesn't like you.
No, she didn't like me before that.
That's not the deciding moment.
No, that would be a helpful deciding moment,
Yeah.
but that was not it. My cat's just a curmudgeon. Yeah. So the hormonal influxes are absolutely wild.
It's so
First
crazy.
trimester I feel like is particularly
It is.
hard.
And you feel like you've quite literally exited yourself and you're watching yourself from the corner like, what are you
I feel
doing?
like you stay exited until even after the baby comes.
I exited until about the second trimester.
Really? I exited for a while.
I exited while all of the hormonal craziness was happening. But I did start to feel more like myself in the second trimester.
Yeah.
Second trimester was where it was at.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You're
was
not too big yet, too.
Yeah,
You look
exactly.
so cute, and you can
I
move
know.
around,
You look cute. You
have
feel
energy
okay.
again.
You have energy again. That nausea.
Right, these are our experiences.
Yes.
Some people do not have that experience.
That nausea lessens a little bit, and you
People are sick the whole
feel
time.
Yeah.
No, what is that called? I can't remember.
it's gravis something.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It is.
We are thinking of you, everyone who went through that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, but the second trimester was pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I was able to get some relief.
Yeah.
You're solidly in the middle. You're right. You're not too big
Start
yet.
eating foods again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was honestly what I think was the biggest relief.
And then that was the time I was like, I need to eat that whole eat for
Yeah.
two, which I know is like not necessarily accurate, but I was like, whatever.
But you do get really hungry. I remember just being like hungry all the time.
I was hungry.
I was
time,
insistently hungry. My body was insistent about it.
Yeah.
If I went too far and got too hungry, I would throw up. And it was immediate. And so I would break out a snack anywhere. Like I did not care where I was. I would be at the bank teller and they would be taking too long on my cash and I would just break out Ritz. Like I don't have patience for how long you're taking anymore. I will either vomit or eat the Ritz here. So
I had a lot of people that told me, oh, keep crackers on your bedside table to try to help, and it did not help me at all. Because the
that
mornings
always
were the
helped
worst
me.
for me. But
someone told me when I was pregnant, before I got out of bed to eat a cracker.
yeah.
And that helped. This was a whole pregnancy long thing for me. If I teetered into too hungry, I threw up immediately.
Yeah.
And so that helped because you've been fasting all night. So you're like raging hungry in the morning. Something about popping a Ritz cracker in before my feet touched the ground made it so I could like make it to the kitchen to get breakfast, you know?
Yeah. I remember feeling and you know what, actually just a resource real quick, and I know not everybody likes books and stuff, but I read Emily Oster's book. What was it? The first one. Expecting better, I think it is.
Oh.
Let me check it.
That satisfied my need to know or feel like I.
It's just a really great. It is Expecting Better by Emily Oster. She just has very data-driven information in there, which was super helpful, knowing what is and isn't okay during pregnancy, because there's a lot of like wives' tale of like, don't do this, don't do that, that'll kill the baby, this is wrong. Like,
you see, sure you're gonna die.
it's not all accurate, right? Yeah. And so,
and there are so many different viewpoints from so many different cultural experiences.
I know.
Don't eat anything.
Yeah.
Eat pain.
Right, and so you can make
or like
the
what
right
the
decisions
potential
for you.
risk is. It just gives you information to make your own decision.
Yeah.
That I felt like was better than what I would have done on my own.
Which is more empowering than like, what to expect when you're expecting. Don't do these things. Like,
Sometimes you can't really talk to your doctor for that long. Like
right.
That's so true.
Yeah, your appointments are quick.
And then you forget all the questions that you had because you write them down.
Yeah.
Or that's my
So
write them down.
always great. Look for resources. That was a great one for me personally. It helped me.
I had like, when I was working at the bank when I was pregnant, I had 90% Armenian coworkers. And so culturally, they had their own wives' tales about pregnancy.
Oh, I'm sure.
And
Eat a potato.
no, truly, it was so interesting because I grew up with completely different wives' tales. We all have them in our different cultures. So I was really, really sick for my first trimester. And one of my coworkers said, "Oh, you're lucky you're going to have a hairy baby."
Oh, my. Yes, be lucky.
And quite literally, I did not picture like a baby with a lot of hair. I pictured like a furry baby.
That's what I picture when you say hairy baby.
I was like, how hairy? I was very not gently told that the baby was sucking all my beauty, so the baby would be beautiful. I was like,
oh my God.
cool, thank you.
It's getting slowly uglier by the day.
And then I had, in my second trimester, I started to really kick up weird dreams. And I had this dream one night where there was some sort of crazy family dispute, and my dad had a knife. There was something about my dad and a knife. I was telling my coworkers about this story the next day, and she goes, "Akshi," it's a term of endearment in Armenian. "Akshi, you're gonna have a boy." And I was like, "Oh, what?
Why?"
She was like, "Well, you dream of an apple, it's a girl. You dream of a knife, it's a boy." I was like, "That is so specific."
You're right.
And
I did have a boy.
You did have a boy.
It was the wildest thing. And she was so certain.
That's funny when you go through that, like, unknowing until that next appointment. And everybody's like, it's a boy, it's a girl, it's a boy. And all the reasons. And you're just like, all of this is madness.
Yeah. And then some of them happen to be right.
Yeah.
And you're like, what kind of sorcery?
Yeah.
Like a knife and an apple?
Yeah.
But she was right. It was so bizarre.
So bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think something that stands out to me about the second trimester was just seeing her again. Like there are some tests that obviously you do during that time frame, like for chromosomal abnormalities, that you can also get the sex like pretty early.
Yeah.
You can. And they pay for it if you're past the age of 35.
See, I was going to say that wasn't an option for me.
Geriatric.
Which I was geriatric.
Not a great word.
Like, yes, please.
Yes.
See, I was 28,
I
and
know.
so I didn't have that option until 20 weeks to know.
So you guys found out early.
Yeah, it was like really.
You did.
Right after the first trimester.
Right. We didn't do that. We waited. And I waited to 20 week ultrasound.
That anatomy scan is such a relief.
I know.
Yeah.
It is
so
really
terrifying
fun to see everything.
and such a relief. All of them, the chromosomal the anatomy scan and the glucose test.
Yeah.
It all
Glucose test
seems
is
so critical.
Honestly, I think that was my worst one because you have to chug that sugar water.
So, did you guys go with the white one or the orange one?
I think they gave me the orange one. I didn't really have a choice.
Oh, I think I did the white one. But still, guys, I have the funniest story about my glucose test.
And that test for gestational diabetes, by the way.
Yes.
Any of us had it, right?
No.
Okay.
In Las Vegas, there's this place called House of Pies. That's like a long time LA place to go to. And it was right down the street from me. And they had this chocolate green pie that was my favorite. I picked one up the day before my glucose test, had a slice of pie, took my test, failed it.
Oh, no.
And my doctor called and was like, you have these levels, but I'm honestly kind of surprised. Like, nothing has been leading this way so far. Did you
eat pie?
Yeah.
Did you eat pie?
Maybe have a cookie? And it was like, I had chocolate cream pie. And she was like, why? Like, trying to be as loving as possible.
My favorite
but
is, why would you do that?
Dear God, dear Lord, we have to do it again now. And I was like, okay. And she was like, no pie. And I was like, okay. And then I was all right.
That's funny. Oh my God. I hated that one.
Have to not eat, but pie to
Yeah.
When
I was
we
like, but a slice of pie is fine.
When we went in for the 20-week appointment and they were doing the ultrasound, Avery, you remember she like latched really far down?
Yes.
And she was like tucked in there. And they're like, well, you wanted to know the sex, right? And we're like, well, yeah, if we could. And she's like, well, I think, I'm giving you like 60% girl, 60-40. Not good enough. Like, 60-40. She's like, all right, well, why don't you get up, go to the bathroom, move around, maybe try to like squat a little, see if you can get a better position. So I did. Went back. She's like, I'm still 60-40. I'm feeling a little more confident. It's a girl. So Tyler and I left that appointment with, I guess
no
it's
reassurance.
a girl. And it wasn't until Grand Junction that they were like, they told you if it's a boy or girl, right? And I was like,
kind of?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they told me 60-40, it's a girl. And they're like, okay, well, we can tell you 100. And I was like, great.
See, when it's a boy, I feel like there's not that. They're like, oh, yep, there it is.
Hard.
It's a boy.
It's so hard, right? Because I mean, all you see is a taco if it's a girl.
It is or it isn't. There. So it's a boy or it isn't. But a girl, you're like, maybe. We'll find out. But a boy, you're like, nope, yep, that's there.
I feel like if
there it is.
I would want to wait. I feel like that'd be really exciting.
I think
like
I
all
would
the way
too.
till the end.
I think I would too. I'm always so impressed by people that wait. And part of me is like, how fun is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
honestly,
cool.
yeah. And with like all the gender neutral stuff that exists now, it's so doable.
Yeah, it'd be so much fun.
Yeah, there's so many things that people can go through. And Megan, you had an interesting third trimester.
I know.
I believe.
End of second into third.
End of second, third. Yeah, I just think it's important to, I guess the main thing I learned from this is look for the signs, and if anything seems weird, just call your doctor.
Or your friend.
Or a friend. Just talk about what's happening to your body, to people. I had bleeding pretty much the entire pregnancy, which is not normal. Anybody who's wondering, you shouldn't be doing that. So I was bleeding during the second trimester. Christmas Day was my second time when that happened. Called the doctor. I didn't care that it was Christmas Day. Dr. Tucker answered. She was wonderful. Helped calm me down. Definitely didn't go skiing that day.
Yeah.
Stay home. That was kind of the end of that. And then it happened again. And that's when they said, don't do CrossFit anymore. I just need you to calm down. They didn't know if it was like just cervical stress or what it was. They just didn't know at the time, but it wasn't normal. Every time I ended up in the hospital at GVH with a stress test, making sure Avery wasn't coming.
And I want to say importantly, when this first started with Megan, she reached out and asked, is this normal? Because obviously I was pregnant first.
Yes. So I didn't know. I just didn't know.
Yeah. Is this supposed to be happening? And I was like, you know what?
This is the village component.
Yeah, the village
Solid
component.
at the end of your second no, and the beginning of your third no. And Megan started taking pictures. And I cannot reiterate enough how uncomfortable it might seem, but how important it was in your health journey that you took photographs of what was happening.
Yeah. And I didn't just take pictures of what was happening in the toilet. It was like what I was wiping.
Yeah, exactly.
Because sometimes it's as small as that.
And it's not uncomfortable for your doctor. They need to know, and being able to see it was so valuable.
Yeah.
The fact that you pushed beyond any kind of embarrassment and just honestly documented what was happening to show your doctor was absolutely critical in Megan getting the care that she needed.
Yeah. So it just was, I don't know, it was just kind of weird. And I didn't feel anything, to be honest. Like, you don't feel like anything's wrong. It just was happening. And so I think I bled 5 separate times. The 5th time I had what looked like my mucus plug happened. And I was probably, at the time, I think I was 33 weeks, 33 or 34, probably around there. And then they sent me to Grand Junction. So that's when they finally were like, gotta get to the hospital.
Which in our town, in our valley, if you have to go to Grand Junction, it means you need more medical
than
help.
Just what our hospital has to offer. And the reason for that is because GVH does not have a NICU. So if your baby comes before 36 weeks, they don't keep you here. So they sent me to Grand Junction. Of course, it was snowing. So they tried, the helicopter couldn't fly. So then they're like, well, we're looking to see if an airplane can come. That didn't happen. So they're like, we're just going to put you on an ambulance. So they put me on the ambulance.
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours. Thankfully, I was like, get me the laptop from work, because otherwise I would have been bored out of my mind.
I know, but that was crazy. She worked through all of it.
I did. So they got me on the ambulance, and then they're just like, the whole time they got me plugged in. They're like, how you feeling? I was like, honestly, I'm feeling fine. Like, at no point I felt like I was in labor. So they just were kind of like rushing me, thinking I'm in labor. Then when I got there, they did all the tests, vaginal tests, everything. They made sure. That's when they confirmed that I was having a girl.
Ayo.
And they kept me in the hospital for 3 days. I got to do a 3D ultrasound, which was so cool.
Yeah.
Because I got to see Avery's face. Yeah. And then comparing that picture to when she was born, it was like the same. It was so weird. So that was pretty cool. But then they also did this crazy ultrasound which showed the blood flow, because what they wanted to see, because part of it, they were worried that the placenta was bleeding, and then the cervix was trying to like get it all out. Like, I don't know how that works, but they were worried that the placenta wasn't functioning right. So they had this crazy ultrasound that was like heat mapping the blood flow. So you could see it running through my body and then spiraling into her heart, where her heart is, and how it goes through. Oh, it was the coolest thing ever. So you could pinpoint where her heart was, and it would spiral in.
Oh, that's really cool, though.
It was so cool. So they did all these...
I'm giving you life.
Yeah.
I know, right? So they did all these tests, and everything was totally normal. Totally normal. And then at 36 weeks, they just were like, you can go home now. So I was down there for 2 weeks, and then they sent me back to Gunnison. And then they wanted to induce, and I said no. And then Dr. V was like, I'm just really uncomfortable because we don't know what's going on. Would love to be able to induce. And I said no. And then eventually I said, all right, fine. If it's not by Friday, we can induce. And here's the thing. It was, I don't know. It was a lot. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was stubborn. Because I was going to the doctor on Tuesdays and then the hospital on Fridays until she came.
That's so much.
Every week. Stress test and checking that her heartbeat was normal. Stress test.
Because at the end, you're going in pretty regularly.
It was constant.
But twice a week is...
Yeah, usually it's like every 2 weeks, and then...
Yeah, and then they move you to every week coming up
like right
to
before
the labor.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I kind of went through it, but it was fine. And then ended up deciding on induction, and then I wrapped up work, and I had a call with you guys. Was having contractions, and then I went in the next day, and they started induction, and then
She was like running a whole ass meeting.
I know.
And kept having to take breaks. There were 3 other employees on this call. She was running it.
Yeah.
And she kept having to take like big deep breaths.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, but that's probably...
And I just gotta walk this one off for a minute.
God love her, my neighbor and one of my dear friends, Carolina, who worked with us at the time, kept looking at me like, Brianna,
I think she's in
should we say something? Because Megan's not really the one you tell something she doesn't want to hear. So we were like, do we say something? And I think finally one of us did. We were like, hey-o, I think this is actually labor, so can we pause the meeting until later? Megan was like, I can keep going. We were like, that's okay.
No, you can't.
And then you came over for a glass of wine.
Yeah, and then I came over for a glass of wine, and you asked me what was going to change.
And you were like, I don't want to tell you.
I didn't have the heart to tell you. I was like, what do I do now? I'm just going to keep having wine.
Everything. Anyway, so then we had her, and it was great. They started the induction, but they didn't ever wrap it up. They didn't need to.
Yeah.
Because I was there like, well, you're in labor, you're fine.
And she was okay, and you were okay.
She was okay. Yeah. I was okay. I ended up, so after I had her, I took her swimming, and I went to the bathroom, and I noticed some spotting again. And I shouldn't have been spotting. And I was like, all right, I never figured this out. And it wasn't supposed to happen. But yeah, everybody was just like, well, it's a weird pregnancy thing. And it wasn't. So I went back and I just went and said, I need a pap smear. Something isn't right. And I stuck to my guns.
You did it.
And I did it. The doctors did not. I did it. And I'm really glad I did. And they said, all right, fine. You don't really need one. And I was just like, yeah, except this weird stuff's happening. So we did it. And I had high-risk HPV with severe dysplasia, which just means that I had basically starting of like what could be cancer, cervical cancer, but I had 5 spots with very severe cell abnormalities. So I had to do a colposcopy, which is so much fun. So the pap smear just like gets a sample. The colposcopy gets a chunk sample where they can check how abnormal those cells are. And then after that, they did, I had to do a leap excision. And they said that because I'd had a pap smear before I was pregnant with Avery, that was a very quick transition. Usually it doesn't happen that fast to go from like a nothing to stage 3 dysplasia. So they said it was pretty aggressive, whatever it was. So anyway, it was good that I went. Mm-hmm. They did a leap. They got clean margins. They got it all. And then I just finally cleared. After that, I had to do a pap smear every year for the next 3 years. And I just cleared my last one. Yay! So it just takes... It's just worth... Just trust your body. Because I think had I not done that, I think had I waited... it would have been a discovery of like a cervical cancer situation, which...
And I've always appreciated this about you, is that when you're facing something that might be scary medically, you want to know. You want to know right now.
Yeah. The only reason I'm like that is because I think the other side of that is that it could be so much scarier.
I know.
To be diagnosed with something.
But it's so helpful. I feel like in my American mindset... it's whatever to save money. Sure. Like, I'm fine until it's so dire I have to spend the money. Sure. Yeah, and so the idea that I want to find out sooner before it gets worse was decidedly un-American for me. Yeah. And helpful, not just in pregnancy, but in all sorts of medical issues for me. Where you're like, well, wouldn't you rather know right now? Sure. Which, yes. Because then you have the most options. Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
But in the way our system exists,
cancer yet, and it would have been had I waited.
But honestly, there's such a fear of those preventative costs that people don't do it until it is that serious. And I've really just always appreciated it about you.
Also, don't mess around with like if they can't get you in right away at one place. I was supposed to go to Montrose. And I just was like, I called Anschutz Medical, not Anschutz, is it Anschutz? The one in Denver, right? Yeah. Yeah, UC Health. And I just remember talking to this nurse, Cassandra, I just randomly called their clinic, honestly, the gynecologist's office in the big hospital, the big one downtown Denver. And she was just like, oh, okay, interesting. That I think she just, from everything I was telling her, she was like, this is not a good scenario. Mm-hmm. Just have them send me the files. They did it right away. They wouldn't do it right away. She called the Montrose Hospital and said, no, I'm telling you, you have to release these files now. And then she called me right away and she said, we can get you in on Thursday. That was 2 days later.
I remember.
And it was just amazing because in Montrose, they're like, we could probably get you in 3 months.
It's not the same to go to Montrose.
Don't want to go to sleep every night thinking, what's happening to me while I'm going to sleep for 3 months.
You can't guarantee that Montrose care is any better than here.
I know. No. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm really glad I did that. I'm telling you, fight for yourself, make the phone calls. No one's going to laugh at you, even if you just call and ask a question. Nobody's going to care. They're just there to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you rather have the answers?
Oh my God, yes. So that was my third trimester.
Needless to say, I'm so happy that you are okay.
Yeah.
And that you did that for yourself.
Yeah.
And
I know I can breathe easier knowing you passed that most recent test.
Me too.
gosh, yeah.
So I can't imagine how much better you feel.
Because I still have moments. It's definitely left a scar where if I have spotting, I'm just like, is it my period right now? Or should I be worried it came back?
So reaching that milestone was really, I think we were all together when we realized you
HPV
reached
vaccine, I got it, and I was a 31-year-old woman. So you know what? Just do it. Go for it. It hurts. It sucks.
But keep yourself safe.
Yeah. But it doesn't hurt as much as getting steroids shot in your legs, because I had to do that for Avery because they thought she was coming early.
Yeah.
To get her lungs to develop. And it was so crazy. It was Alex, the nurse from the hospital, the labor one, who's like so tough. She's awesome. And she's just like, it's going to hurt, I'm telling you. And just stabbed my leg. Because she's like, if I don't do it suddenly, you're not going to let me do it.
But here we're gunny strong.
It's like a slow like oozing of the steroids into your leg so it burns. I can still feel ghost pains from it. It's crazy. And then I was just like, oh, fuck, that sucks. So she goes, yep, got to come back tomorrow morning for the second round. I can only give you 2 rounds at a time. So the first one sucks, but the second one's worse because you know it's coming.
Yeah.
So I went in. I'm just like, I'm not going to lie, Alex. I really don't want to do this right now. She's like, I know. She just stabbed me. Just got it done. And I was like, thank you for doing it so efficiently. Because it was like, otherwise I would have just been like, don't do it. I'm good.
That
She'll
sounds
be
like
fine.
gunny strong straight up.
Oh, God. It was terrible. So Avery was born with very healthy lungs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is so weird that they know that you can give steroids to develop the lungs of your baby.
I know.
To let them survive if they come early.
I know.
What?
Yeah.
Science.
So our Brie, you and my third trimester was pretty.
It was so typical.
Yeah, I was just like done with everything.
Yeah.
Swollen.
I felt huge. I slept with like 9 different pillows. I never did get those pregnancy pillows.
I did, but I didn't. Like I wouldn't use. Like I would use all.
I had a combination. Yeah.
Brett used my.
Really?
And we still have it, and we still use it again.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Funny.
I think I did get rid of my pregnancy pillow because I
had a
felt like
special combination, guys. It was like 1 couch pillow, 2 bed pillows. Like I had a whole that kept me comfortable.
Because of the reflux.
Yeah. It was a whole way. The reflux. And then I remember reaching a point in my 3rd trimester where I had to pee so often because your bladder holds so little. So you feel like you have to pee the world's biggest pee, and then you pee like 3 drops. And then
I know, it's the worst.
And then 20 minutes later have the same urgency. And I remember reaching a point in my 3rd trimester where I was like in the middle of the night peeing just a couple drops, and I was like, can I just stay here? Like, I bet if I had a pillow and I could just prop.
I remember those nights where you're just like, this is so much work for so little.
Can I yes.
Stupid husband just like.
You have to get yourself all the way out of bed and all the way back into bed just to pee 20 minutes later.
Upstairs from our room.
Oh, no.
Really, honest to God, I considered camping out there.
Get a bedpan.
Sleep in the other area upstairs where the bathroom
Just so you can go.
bedroom.
I really wanted to just fall asleep on the toilet and just spontaneously pee whenever I needed to.
That's brutal. I know.
And also eating, you can barely fit anything in your stomach, so I could have a couple
It's amazing
bites.
how little room you have left by then. And then near the end, before you go into labor, you feel like you swell and you get even bigger all of a sudden. You're just like, what just happened?
Yeah.
I'm a beast. And you're like a beast for a few weeks until you're just like,
everything feels puffed and impossible. You're like, there's no way this baby can get any bigger or I can get any bigger, and they just do.
I have a picture of me in the hospital right before we had Avery. I was just like, Tyler, take a picture because this is the last. This is the last of it, and I'm huge.
On my due date, I went to my favorite thrift store because I knew I was going to overshoot it. I overshot my due date by 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks late, so I got big.
That sucks.
And I could tell it was going to happen. Like, come my due date, there's no motion, nothing. And so I went to my favorite thrift store and I was checking out. I got the coolest bookends that I still actually have.
Aww.
It's a, like, old school ship.
Nice.
Cut in half. It's so cute. I was checking out with her, and this was a cool one because it was a warehouse for all of the movie studios. So prop stuff that they wouldn't use, they would send to this thrift store. And I was checking out with her, and she goes, oh, when's your due date? And I was like, today. the terror on this woman's face. And I was like, I'm not going to right now. Can I just have my bookends? Yeah.
Bye.
And then finally, 2 weeks later, I had waddled myself down to the farmer's market, which was a couple blocks away, ate Indian food, waddled back, and went into labor.
Yes. Waddle and eat. Get the spicy and the waddle.
Felt like a full-ass mile, but I think it was
That's
2
funny.
blocks.
That's funny.
The only other thing that happened to me was like, it might not have been a full-on pubic symphysis, but it's so much pain at some point in your like hips or your pelvic bones.
Everything relaxes. The relaxin.
Relaxin is whack.
It's not nice.
Yeah,
it
the
sounds like it's going to be
relaxin
nice.
No, you're not
It makes your
relaxing.
bones, it makes everything like,
You're just
it's so weird.
It's
like, you're just
wicked
doing-
uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's so
And
weird.
Stuff moves around. All your joints are like super loose because you're getting ready to push something out. So your pelvic bones have to separate enough to let that happen. Yeah. But it kind of happens ahead of time sometimes, and it can be so painful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like a weird stretch. Like,
Yeah.
And you
oh my
bend
God,
too
it's so
far.
weird.
Electrical all the time.
It's like tearing your
Like putting
jeans.
on underwear.
Didn't it kind of feel like tearing your jeans, but it was your body?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean when you're like stretching into something too low? It's just weird.
Or like you just stretch something way out. It's not a... Because I remember hearing relaxin and I was like, that sounds nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
No.
You're just unstable.
You're just gonna relax. It's like,
You're like
oh, okay.
Gumby.
Yeah. Yeah.
And or you're like walking suddenly and your knee just goes, whoa. Because you're like, oh shit, what? Am I old? Or am I
Rib pops out.
Yes.
Because your liver's got to shove up there.
So bizarre. It's so bizarre.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
next time we get to talk about
The birth.
stories. Get
know.
excited. Everyone.
Oh yes, here comes Bernie. I'm just kidding.
Well, here does come Bernie, though.
I know. Hey, what's there?
So yeah, next time we'll talk about our
so
birth
good.
stories, and we'll finish out
Yeah.
this series till we'll talk about the 4th trimester as well, after you've had the baby and what you do.
What the fuck is happening?
Yeah,
And your boobs.
And you love the shit out of the little peanut.
you do. So we're going to dive into all of those topics in this series.
Yes.
Yeah, but next time we'll do birth.
All right.
Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Listening to our stories. We want to hear more from you as well. So we'll share
Yes.
resources on how to do that.
So I want to remind you guys, we have a Google form that you can fill out. I'm going to post about that tomorrow on our social media. And you can submit any stories, resources, anything that you have, and it can be totally anonymous. If you'd like us to include your name, you can tell us, but if not, that's completely fine. And I want you to remember that you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be you. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Yay! We'll talk to you later. Woohoo!